All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm super excited. Me and Brianna are here, and we're just coming to chat with you guys about some different topics. So, wherever you guys are watching from, make sure you put it in the chat. Let us know if you are here. Recovery supports. We're talking about real life situations. And so, Brianna, thank you so much for coming and hanging out tonight.
Thank you for giving me your time.
So we wanted to kind of just like come on and collab. I hadn't gotten to collaborate with her, like with just her. So, and she's got some amazing knowledge on harm reduction. We have a lot of the same views on things, especially according to like different language and things like that used in the recovery world. So
I feel like you've been on the podcast so many times, but I don't really know much about you. So I'm excited to just sit down, like you said, one-on-one and talk.
Yes, exactly. Without all the other people.
Mm-hmm.
without Jared and Chuck messing with us.
Being able to focus.
Right. Exactly. So a little bit about, if you want to tell like a little bit about your story, that would be cool. Your recovery pathway and your story.
I mean, growing up, I had a typical life and stuff like that, but I always told myself from like a young age, I didn't want to be on medicine every single day. So like when I was younger, I got diagnosed with a bunch of mental health problems, mental illness. And like I learned coping skills, and that worked for most of my life until it didn't. So like choosing to recover with Suboxone was a really hard choice for me. It was a no-brainer, but it was a hard choice, because I had used Suboxone while I was still actively using and stuff, and it worked. So taking that course to get sober was nice, and I absolutely support it, but such a difference since I've gotten off of it. Like being able to taper off of it and get off of it is, to me, like more of an accomplishment than getting off of fentanyl is.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked.
What was that like? I know a lot of people ask me about Suboxone taper, and I always tell them to go talk to their doctor because I'm not a doctor, plus I don't have like the experience with that like you. I used Suboxone during my addiction and it did work, like, and I was able to, if I could get like 2 weeks worth of Suboxone strips, like I was able to go, without using anything else and be a productive mom for once, you know what I mean? And not be in chaos or trying to run around and get this or get that,
Mm-hmm.
So it was really helpful to me in those times for sure.
I didn't start off using it proper. I was still abusing it, because like I used it during my addiction too. So I'm like, they can't prescribe it to me. Like, I know how to take it. And then I woke up one day and I'm like, I'm abusing the shit out of this stuff. And I absolutely was. There's some days I'm taking like 6 or 7, 8 milligram strips. And then there's days I was just taking 1. So that was kind of like my moment. Like, there has to be an end to this. Like, I have to get off of it at some point. I didn't set a goal. It wasn't like a year or 2 years, but I'm like, I have to get off of this. And I got honest with my doctor and we started tapering, and it's low and slow. That's the only way to do it. And people like sitting there saying, I hear a lot of people not liking Suboxone because they say it's harder to get off of than street drugs. But I've never heard of somebody tapering off of a street drug. Like, do you taper off of, heroin or crack? Like, you don't. You don't do it. You experience it at once. And I think that's the hardest thing about getting off Suboxone is having an okay mindset to be able to do that, because it's hard.
Definitely. Yeah, I've never tapered off of street drugs. No, never. it just didn't work for me. I believe maybe I tried, I would get my, pill prescription from this many a day. And yeah, that never happened ever. So
So like holding yourself accountable and doing that, that's difficult. That's really hard to do. So I understand why people, stay on it.
Absolutely. And there, the biggest thing that like I don't like about like recovery politics is the stigma that is on, medication, because like I always say that dead people can't recover, you know what I'm saying? And growing up in recovery in the 12-step community, it was like work the steps or die. Like they were like, you either have to do this, you're not ready, we'll give you $20, go get high and you can come back when you're ready. You know what I mean? It was like, so
Yeah, it's scary sometimes for some people. That can be real it's scary. I can't imagine, like I can't even tell you what any of the steps are. I know you have to make amends and become honest. That's it. It's about all I know, and here I am, 4 years later, still doing it, and I can't imagine like stepping into recovery on the 12 step. I couldn't do it. And I don't know how you did.
yeah, I was die hard 12 stepper. I mean, like die hard 12 stepper. And, the person that actually changed my mind of all people about medication, was my kid's dad, right? Who like my baby daddy. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. My face says it all. Okay.
Figure out the face for a second. I was like, what are we saying?
My baby daddy. But he's the one, as much as I don't like him and don't, you know what I mean? Whatever. He's the one that changed my mind about medication, because he, was on heroin, really, really bad mix. He used to mix, cocaine and heroin and shoot it up. You know what I'm saying? And I was like terrified for him. I mean, because he's one of these guys that's like go big or go home. Like he doesn't mess around with like anything little. Is always to the max. You know what I mean? If he's taking acid, he's taking a quarter sheet. You know what I mean? Like so it was like, it was terrifying, you know what I mean? To think, as much as I didn't like him, I didn't want him to die. Right. And then he ended up getting on Suboxone, and I noticed something had happened, he began to pay child support. And he had a job and was going to work every day, and he wasn't 130 pounds at 6'4", and he was spending time with his kids. And it was just like, wait a second, like he's actually like doing something different. Like there's something going on here. And that is when I became like a believer in medication.
That's nice to share too, especially you being in recovery, and it was just you noticing in somebody else around you that it does. Like I call it harm reduction. Love that you work in harm reduction too. Like it is like it's reducing the harm to our physical bodies, as opposed to being on, like, not even just being productive. Like put all that aside, we're reducing the harm that we're doing to our body, and I think that's just the best.
Right. Just, with it being regulated, right? Like, when you get that, say, for example, if we're talking about Suboxone or methadone, when you get that prescription, you're getting the same thing every time. Like, there's no difference. Like you know what you're getting.
And I could have never did that with fucking fentanyl. Like, yeah. I would have never been out what to do that. No drug addict can just set some aside for later. Oh, do this. Like, and I just hate when people say that. You're just trading one drug for another. Well, no, not. Like, so it's just it's sad. Like you said, dead people can't recover. And
absolutely.
Now, what you had came on that one Friday. We were talking about Matt and stuff like that. I didn't really get to hear too much about the company that you work for and what you guys do and stuff.
So yeah, I'm on the board of directors for a nonprofit called Access Point, and we are a harm reduction organization, and basically we actually have just gone back to being mobile, but we did have a building for a while. But it basically, like, we do clean kits, wound care, HIV and hepatitis treatment, of course, referring people to wherever they need to go, advocating for people like in the hospitals, people who have HIV and stuff, you know what I mean? Because it's just sad how people get treated, you know, who who have HIV and hepatitis, and who are in the strongholds of addiction. So also education, drug testing, and of course, syringe exchange, and yeah, and recovery coaching. So like all the things of it, and education being even even going out into like the college, because we're a UGA campus, right on UGA campus. So going out to the colleges and being able to like educate the college kids on, they might not come forth and be like, yeah, I take ecstasy every weekend, you know what I mean? But like, it's like, hey, let us tell you about, these things.
Yeah, information. I think it's sick. The next town over from us, they've been having Narcan parties
Awesome.
where they take it off, where they overdose and everyone has Narcan, and they see how many it takes to bring them back to life.
They're testing.
They're doing on purpose.
Oh, on purpose. I haven't heard of that.
Yep. That's what the kids around here do for fun.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like Narcan parties, like they're handing out Narcan.
Oh,
like,
they're using Narcan. Like, it's like, that's so irresponsible and disgusting to me. Like, there needs to be more education like that about it, because that doesn't sound fun.
it makes me think about when they had that TikTok thing about with eating like the bleach pods, the Tide bleach pods,
The kids would do anything.
Yeah.
There needs to be more, spread education. Like you said, they're not going to come forward, but at least being there and educating more people can help.
Absolutely. And I mean, because we know that we have to do something different, right? Because the fentanyl crisis is just like basically taking out all of our friends, it's taking out all of our friends.
Everyone. Have you heard? I was talking to the chief of police here the other day, and I live in a secluded town and stuff like that. I just heard of crocodile for the first time the other day. That is just, it floors me. The type of stuff. Have you heard of it yet? So it's codeine based. Apparently that's what it says online. It's codeine based, and the only way to do it is to inject it, and it literally eats you from the inside out.
Okay, and that's not with the stuff that starts with a T.
No, it's
something different.
All by itself. Like they don't mix it with other things. Nothing. It's all by itself, and people are going and knowingly, asking for this, and it floors my mind. It just absolutely floors me, like knowing what it can do to you. That I get it. I absolutely get it. Because you know what? If I was still out there using, I might be to that point.
I mean, I do remember like being one of these people. I remember like I had a very, very limited time where I got to try any kind of heroin, because back when it was heroin, this is back in like 2015, 14, 15. Because like thank God, the area that I was in, I didn't have a car, and I wasn't able to get down to like Atlanta to get like the heroin supply or whatever. So what I got was basically like just kind of BS or whatever, right? So I don't even know if I've ever really done any like full scale heroin, but I do remember like hearing about people being like, if somebody had like overdosed off a batch, being like, oh, I want some of that. Like, I want to get some of that.
Yeah. And I get it, like I absolutely get it that that's out there because I did, I think we all did, if somebody, if they got like, they're getting to that point, like we want to try it, but I just, this war on drugs, it's not like you were talking about, it's not working because they're just bringing more stuff in. They're
Right.
just more worse stuff in, and it's just, it's sad.
How do you feel about the like the laws that they have where, so I know personally this guy who used to sell me meth, and he actually got life in prison because he sold heroin to a girl who gave it to her girlfriend that died.
I have mixed feelings about that. I absolutely do. And it's the Good Samaritan law keeps coming, which I want to compare it to, but I can't remember.
Mhm.
Just the poisoning. I think people need to be held accountable for it, but like the tracks that it goes through, it's really hard to pinpoint where it came from.
Right.
And I really do think that there might be some innocent people out there, that are struggling themselves, and they bought a bag off of a random person and went to go sell it to this person, and now they're stuck in the middle and their life is ruined. Yeah, they should have known better. They absolutely should have known better. But we do dumb stuff as addicts.
Mm-hmm.
We absolutely do.
Definitely.
And I think it's kind of like, like the Good Samaritan law too. Like if I'm on probation, if I was walking down the street and I seen somebody overdosing and I called the cops, I'm getting arrested because I'm on probation and I made that phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're an immigrant, like you're getting in trouble for that. So it's like, I don't makes you want to walk away and not say anything.
Right. So is that still, so if you're like, even with the Good Samaritan law, if you're on probation, you'll still go to jail?
Yeah.
Like
I'm more of just like being held in question.
Mm-hmm.
Like walking away, like if you were next to me and you had called instead of me, you're not getting taken in and questioned. I'll get taken in and questioned. And I feel like that deters people from helping people in those situations.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just something else to show that they care with a bunch of loopholes to it.
Right. Yeah, Jennifer, we're saying, we're both on the, just on the fence because it's so hard because of the, the fact that it's like, when you're in addiction, you're just trying to survive. So you might be selling a bag so you can get a bag, right? You're not necessarily like selling, bags to get rich. You're selling a bag so you can get a bag so you're not sick, right? It's kind of like a sick circle.
Like, I haven't read any cases. I haven't, looked into it. But do you think some of these people might be getting offered help instead? Like being rehab or something like that instead of, a lifelong sentence?
Yeah, I mean, some people, I guess it depends on the judge and the county and things like that. I know that for the recovery community, like we need to understand the people who are writing the laws, like the legislation, you know what I mean? Like we need to be like calling our like representatives and writing letters, and like, because they're the ones that like pass the laws, like where the funding comes from, right? Where the funding comes from, where the laws. So like people in recovery, like I know like in Georgia we have this Georgia Council for Recovery, and like they're really good about like educating us on laws that are coming out, and they will send like mass emails like, hey, we want you to send this, and they have the email like already pre whatever, you just like push your name in and like hit send. Yeah, and it's like, understanding that we recover, we vote, we have a voice, and that voice matters, and like going to these like meetings and being involved like on the state level, the city and state level, to be able to like to say and to hold our representatives like accountable, right? Like, hey, what you're doing here is not working. Like bringing that, like, hey, about the Good Samaritan law, you know what I mean? Like about I didn't know about that. I wasn't aware of that. If they were on probation, that you would get, you know, brought into questioning or whatever. But yeah, Haley, Benjamin has been really good about writing letters, and that's what we all should be like doing, is like keeping up with, you know, where the laws are coming in. We have to be like educated, and that takes us being like intentional about it.
I was watching this video earlier where they, you know, like they go out and interview people and just ask like a bunch of different people questions. They're interviewing men about women's periods and tampons and stuff like that, and then asking them at the end, but you know, do you vote? And it's kind of the same thing. Like we have to go out and educate these people that are making laws and are voting to pass them and stuff like that. Like that's the only way to do it, you know. It's like some of the answers to the questions were absolutely hilarious. But the only way that they'll know anything is if we educate them. You know,
Right.
it's all the way across the board with that. You know, you can't just sit back and, you know, like shrug our shoulders if we're not doing anything to help. You know,
Absolutely. And I believe like recovering out loud is such a huge part of that, because we're able to go and like tell our stories to, you know, on this like government level, you know what I mean? I know that one of the news channels is doing like a big thing right now. I saw that Danny Shannon was on it, and then one of my friends over here was on it too, where they're doing like recovery and mental health stories, you know what I mean? So being willing to like recover out loud, you know, whatever that looks like. And you know, in the government level of that too is like really really important, because you know, we need to be able to show, especially if you're in one of these places that's I don't know, like it doesn't have a lot of people, very unpopulated,
secluded like I am.
right? Like a secluded area, right? There's probably not a lot of like resources, you know. We just had a girl, it was so sad, who died of AIDS, which is completely preventable and curable now. But because she lived in a rural area and she could not get to her appointments, and when she did go to the hospital, they treated her like she was, you know, because the, you know, disease had just taken so much, you know, from her. And it was just like so sad, because it's unnecessary. It's
Yeah,
unnecessary.
yeah. It,
So
I live in a rural area and I notice it, you know, and it's hard too, like access to doctors and, you know, even just for recovery, mental health, regular doctors, you know, like I'm on a 9-month wait list to see a primary. Like that's 9 months to wait for a
mm,
primary doctor. And even that, you know, that's not right. You
mhm.
know, it's not, it's absolutely not.
It's kind of wild, because actually, like, I'm in a not a rural area at all. And I was trying to get last year, I was trying to get an appointment with a psychiatrist in the area, and there was a 6-month waiting list. Like,
Yeah.
that's wild. Like, and you can see the ones online, but the ones online can only do like so much for you. Like, if you need like specific medications, you have to see them in person. So it's just kind of like ridiculous. Like, our medical and insurance system is so jacked up. Like, did you ever notice, like, if you go to the doctor, so like say urgent care, right? I went to urgent care and there was this girl and she didn't have insurance, and she paid $125 to go to the urgent care. That was her price, no insurance. Okay. Me, I had health insurance. Okay. It was $150 copay.
I thought you that's
And I have insurance, right? And I was like, well, how come she's $125? Like, well, how about I don't have insurance? They're like, no, we have, now we know you have insurance, and we have a contract with the insurance company that if you do have insurance, like we have to take your insurance.
I'm like, can I go across the street?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to the urgent care.
I'll be back in 5 minutes. That's just wrecked. And you know, it's I was gonna say something even about like state insurance too. You know, it's people are like, you know, you don't pay anything, you don't pay a copay, you don't pay for this, you don't pay for that. But we're also very limited in what we're allowed. You know, but to have insurance and pay more than somebody that doesn't have insurance, like that's just
Yeah. Like I already paid $200 a month, bro, and I want to pay an extra $25. That's bullshit.
day too. So I'm working on my mental health journey. You know, I went on meds about 2 years ago, a little while after I got off Suboxone. Like I gave myself that time. I was getting the Vivitrol shot. It's kind of like letting my life kind of settle down after being on it. And then I started working on my mental health. And a couple weeks ago was my first time without my meds, but I couldn't get in to see my doctor sooner. And she would not send over a week's worth of medicine for me. Oh, well, too bad. So sad. She would not send a week. Jared had to take me to the emergency room so I could get my medicine. Because I've been on this for 2 years. I can't just stop it. But let me tell you, when I was on Suboxone, I never went without. I never went with. If I needed something, I'd call the doctor. They'd send it over. Not once did I have an issue, but now I'm on mental health meds to, help with all that. And none of it's a controlled substance. And they're just, letting people go without their meds. And that blew my mind. It was a week. Just a week, Jamie. That's it. That's all I needed. 7 days.
Yeah, and it was just what was it like a non-controlled like a
Antidepressant and anti-anxiety and a mood stabilizer.
wow.
Things too, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, she was letting me go. And I can only imagine somebody that was on something stronger or, had been taking it for longer. My body's dependent on it. Yes. I notice when I don't, take my meds, I notice within a couple hours. But to knowingly let somebody go without any life-saving medicine, whether it be, Suboxone, methadone, Sublocade, both meds, anything. Like that's just the amount of money that they make from us. It's just sick to let them, let people go with that.
Yeah, and it feels like they're kind of like stigmatizing us all over again,
Yeah. So she said to me, she's like, well, you can't always expect instant gratification. And I was like, I am healed, okay? I am healed, lady. Like, what are you talking about? Like, and but that brought me back. Like that hurt. Like that hit home to hear that. And it just wasn't. I'm talking to people and I'm making sure, that within this company at least that won't happen again. Because there was zero reason for it. No reason whatsoever.
Yeah. That sounds kind of like ridiculous to me. I don't know. I don't understand it, especially if you're not out here. It's not like you were drug seeking,
Not at all. And the emergency room, in and out in 20 minutes. I didn't even leave the triage room. The doctor came out. It felt wonderful. She comes out. She's like, we don't see anything in your, anything funny in your history with this hospital. Nothing. I moved when I got sober. So there's nothing funny here, And she's like, here, I wrote you a week's worth of your medicine and sent me on my way. Like that made me feel really nice. But I even told her too, I'm like, you treated me worse than my Suboxone doctor treated me. And I'm voluntarily here. Like I'm voluntarily working on this. Like I'm not forced to be here.
right.
And you guys are just going to go and do that. And to me, that a doctor can do that is just, it's life threatening.
It seems abusive.
Yeah.
To me.
And I was never treated that bad during my when I was actively using. So it's our healthcare is fucked too.
Yeah. Oh yes, absolutely.
I keep trying to read. There's so little on the screen.
There's
and I can only see the last one. It's bad though. New one comes. I
know there were so many. I just kind of was putting them on. But like, I can say like, so my my son was dealing with some like mental health stuff like 2 years ago, I think, and he was on the Spravato treatment, which, right, is that ketamine, the ketamine treatment? And the insurance, like after him being on it, doing like 3 or 4 treatments, like, and him getting like started getting better, you know what I mean? Like they wouldn't pay for it anymore. Like
That's,
it's working.
they're making money. Like they're making money, and they're just greedy.
Yeah.
And
They're like, yeah.
To find something that works for him.
Mm-hmm.
And oh well.
Yeah.
That they can just basically just shrug their shoulders because they have the power.
Mm-hmm. In a sense, it almost feels like, they like have trying to shut down the drug dealers, and they're just like taking the place. Like except we're gonna tax you for it, and we're gonna control it, and
You're gonna be even than you were before.
right.
I was gonna ask a question, but I forgot. Oh, so you said that you guys are like mobile now. How far do you guys go? Like what range do you cover? Anything off limits? There is stuff.
Yeah, I feel like the volunteers and the staff go out probably, I know they go Athens and probably like 20 to 30 miles, but I also know that the the owner, the founder of the nonprofit, he'll go out. Like if somebody like messages him, I mean, he will, do whatever he can. So, which, and a lot of people don't agree with like the harm reduction. They don't understand it, especially like the clean kits, you know what I mean? Things like that. But it's like, it's a point of contact to meet someone, right? To build a relationship with someone in case, you want to do something different. If you don't, we're going to love you anyway. We're going to call you by your name. We're going to treat you like a human being, and that is, yeah, that's like the most important thing. I feel like, you know what I mean? As a woman of faith, right? Like we're supposed to love people, like everybody, right?
Just look something like that in their area. What would they have to look up? Because like I'm like in a rural area, and like I'm close to the city, but I'm not, stuff like that. Like how would I find something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure like what you guys, I mean, in New York, I feel like you guys should have like so much, even though like
we're up by Canada. So like we're not down by the city like that, it's different up here.
But Canada has everything, right?
I can't go to Canada. I don't know what they have.
I mean, like
I don't know there.
It's so close, you know what I mean? Like they have like free healthcare, like all this, you know what I mean? Like I'm just thinking about Daniel, Hard Knocks, Daniel Unmanageable, you know what I mean? Like they have such a different medical system there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just so different. Lord Chase, love God, love people. Canada does have everything, including Tim Hortons.
New York, upstate, where I'm at. Well, Western New York.
Yeah, Adriana. I think Adriana's in like the city, isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Bronx, actually, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. So every 4 minutes, someone dies from drug overdose.
For me specifically, if there was someone in Minnesota that, needed some help and wanted to look up something, as far as harm reduction is, just to have somebody,
mm-hmm.
just how they would go about finding that.
How they would go about just finding a harm reduction agency in general. Yeah. I think they would have to call their Department of Behavioral Health.
And ask them.
Yeah.
We had a doctor an ER doctor and a MAT doctor actually from California, and I sat down and got to talk to him. And he said I love telling people this, there's 1.3 million doctors in the United States, and only about 3,400 of them are MAT doctors that can prescribe Suboxone or methadone and stuff like that. Like, that's such a small amount.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a small amount. So it even shows you too, like how high up that stigma of recovering, with a harm reduction medicine goes. Like 1.3 million doctors and only less than 4,000 go and do that.
Yeah. So definitely needing like more education and things like that. And you would think with all the money they make off it, the more doctors would want to go into that field.
They're the ones like that are going over into bigger things, plastic surgeons.
Right.
Yeah, that's insane to me. Absolutely insane. So, do you know anyone besides your husband or your baby daddy that has successfully recovered with Suboxone? Like, if you can think off the top of your head.
Oh yeah, lots.
But yeah, and it's just, and even like you being open to that after being like part of the 12-step, like that's amazing, because there's so many people. We sit here with Jody, from Sober Swag, and he's always, been a 12-stepper, absence-based recovery. And now with his, occupation, he went and he did a bunch of, harm reduction courses and had to get, licensed with Suboxone and stuff like that. And within no time, it absolutely, like him getting educated on that level completely changed his views on it. And that's as simple as it is just educating people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Those resources and that education and stuff. And it needs to be everywhere. I want it to be everywhere.
Yes. And having like we're so blessed in Georgia. Like we have this amazing, the Georgia Council for Recovery is like so amazing. And we're like so connected, like in the whole state of Georgia. There's golly, I want to say like over like 60 recovery organizations like in Georgia, recovery community organizations in Georgia through Georgia Council, maybe more now, because that was last time I checked was like a year or something ago. There's like 5 right here in Athens. So like they did a tour, like a bus tour, and went to all the organizations, you know what I mean? Like it's incredible, like the connectedness and like having like I call it like a hub, that like is involved with the Department of Behavioral Health, that's involved with the legislation. And that is like, and teaches people, because we as, so I'm a CARES, what we call a CARES, which is a certified addiction recovery empowerment specialist and a certified peer specialist for addictive disease. So it's a lot of letters. So I have these like the certification, right? And basically I have to go through, I have there was a 40-hour training. Well, you have to get in, you have to apply to get in. And we've actually implemented it in some other states also, which is really cool. And like you do this 40-hour training and it teaches you the science of addiction, the brain science of addiction. It teaches you about recovery capital. It teaches you about motivational interviewing, like how to talk to people, like in a way, and like how to share your experience without telling people what to do, right? Like teaches you like how to kind of like.
Did you promote this before? Because I remember Jared like bringing it up with Bonnie and stuff like that way back when, and like I think you were like inviting people or just promoting it, letting people know, you go there outside of Georgia, right? Or
yeah,
just even for the education,
Yeah, absolutely. It is so incredible.
And do that, but if you do.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it. I think they do it over like Zoom and everything now, you know what I mean? And the thing is that we promote multiple pathways of recovery, right? So like we just, my friend Richie, he is has a organization that does recovery through comedy. So he has like literally has a nonprofit that works like has they have like a I think they're doing stuff with the Atlanta Comedy Hub now or whatever, and they put on shows. And it's like that is your pathway. Oh, I recovery through comedy. You know what I mean? Like it's so cool. Like whatever it is, we have one Athens Recovery Warriors, and they're through fitness. So they get together and they do these like crazy 6 a.m. workouts.
Me.
You know, they're hardcore, but that is their pathway. So it's not just like, oh, it's either a 12 step or you're a Celebrate Recovery or you're a, you know what I mean? There's so much, you know, we promote multiple pathways. Like mine, when I went and applied, mine was massage. So I created a massage protocol for people in recovery. Like, hey, I'm a massage therapist and I created this massage protocol. And now I can train people. I train massage therapists on how to perform this massage protocol on people who are detoxing, on people who are in stabilization phases for you know, harm for mat medications. And it's just like like that's the path, that's the pathway. You know, it's like so different.
That's good to know. I didn't know that there was, you know, some areas like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish sometimes that I was closer to a bigger city and stuff like that to have more, you know, my community is online. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's nice to have that in-person connection too.
Absolutely. And I feel like every, you know, a lot of people are like online now with everything. Do you want to address this comment right here? Because I don't have the answer to it.
I keep looking at it. So the Sublocade shot is the same thing as Suboxone. So I did not go on it myself, but I do hear that a lot of people switch from Suboxone to Sublocade during their tapers because the Sublocade shot is a, you know, once a month shot. You get it every 4 weeks. It lasts from 28 to 30 days in your system. But because it slowly gets out of your system, people have have gone from Suboxone to Sublocade in the hopes that it'll be, you know, less harsh getting off of it. You know, I didn't do that myself. I went from Suboxone to Vivitrol, which I didn't know that you have to be off for 3 weeks. And then go on, you know, you have to go on pill form of it and stuff like that. Like it's a process. I don't know the process between the Suboxone and the Sublocade, but I've heard people, you know, going on it during their tapers.
Mm-hmm.
The replacement or sometimes, you know, to get off. Because sometimes, you know, some people it is easier for them to get to the doctors once a month and not have to remember to take stuff. You know. So that's all I know about that.
Um, I think it's really cool. I know here they're implementing. So I was like, uh, talking. I was talking to this pharmacist person for a couple weeks. We're friends or whatever. So he was putting this system in through Georgia Council, where he actually was working with the prison and giving the inmates would get out and they were able to get on the pill form of Suboxone as soon as they got out.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get the you know, the injections or whatever, but I guess like there was like a 3 or 4 week holdup on it for whatever reason, like a back order, I don't know.
Or even just like a lot of them, like I said, you know, when you go from like a strip or a pill form onto the shot, they have to make sure you're not allergic. So they'll give you the pill form of that medicine that gets out of your system within 24 hours. Because once they give you a shot, if you're allergic to it, they can't get that out of your system.
Yeah, that would suck.
You know, so that's something to know too. Like if you're going from Suboxone, Sublocade, or, you know, to the Vivitrol shot or anything like that, like talk to your doctor about it and what that entails to make sure you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had to have a clean urine before I could even go on the pill form of Vivitrol. So I had to completely detox the Suboxone out of my system. And that took some time. That
Mm-hmm.
a lot of time where I was, just raw dog and stuff, and it was hard. So another thing, about educating, like him doing that, in the prison, you can get your medicine, no problem. You're there. And when you get out, allowing them to go onto that pill form and being successful, that's a great resource that he's trying to get out there.
Mm-hmm. There was also something interesting that now I can't understand this. I can't wrap my head around it, but apparently they're trying to implement these. They're implementing these like packs at the pharmacies now that you can either buy or you can bring your prescription medications to the pharmacy and put them in these packs, and it like takes them apart, so it's not like medicine, like for your like narcotic medications. And I was like, who the hell would do that?
Yeah. No.
I guess so you don't like throw them down the toilet and mess with the water supply, or
Oh
maybe so
my
your
God.
kids can't get them, or
That's,
whatever.
I feel like that's if you're getting rid of a lot of medicine. A lot of medicine. And
I don't know.
like yeah. We have them here, dude. That was the hardest thing. And that's how I knew like I was done with Suboxone is I dropped 21 strips off at my pharmacy
Mm,
because I was done. And that's what I had left.
wow.
And the old person in me didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
Did not want to do that, but I fucking did it. And that was interesting. That was an interesting moment.
Yeah. That is crazy because I know I'm still screwed because look, when I had my tummy tuck, they put me on Percocets and I did not want to get I was not trying to get rid of those. Like, no.
Oh, yeah. And yeah. I dropped them all off at the pharmacy, And like I think about it now, like, how many people are out there that would need them, but with the other thing, this person got it from this person and gave it to this person, like I was just returning them. I had to do the right thing and hold myself accountable and return them, and that was a lot.
Yeah, that definitely says a lot.
Yeah. And Brad too, like I know, you asked your question, talk to your doctor. And I mean I tell people to be careful too. I know a lot of people that have, told their doctors that they want to taper and their doctors, can't see them 2 weeks later and stuff like that. Like some doctors don't want you to. And that's why there's forums and people available that you can talk to, get an idea of how to do it safely. And you can, like, you don't need your doctor's permission to start tapering off your medicine. Don't stop it. Don't just stop it. I'm not telling you to just stop it, but you don't need your doctor's permission to. I'm trying to figure out how to word this where I'm not like condoning people to overuse it. Like listen to your body sometimes.
Absolutely. And I always tell people to have a wrap plan in place. We call it a wellness recovery action plan. And that is where you have it like all written out. You've got an accountability people, letting people know what's going on. That you are wanting to taper, being cautious of any kind of like intrusive thoughts or any kind of change in mood or anything like that. So just making sure you're covered like all around for sure.
Yeah. Being aware. I mean, we all do it different, but I always recommend, the couple of people that I have helped taper and get off Suboxone, I always recommend them getting, whether it be a therapist or a counselor or something like that, as somebody extra, because that is somebody that you can call, at 2:00 in the afternoon and they can help you hold yourself accountable or understand. They can help explain to you, what's going on with your mind, what's going on with you physically, it's just somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky. My doctor and my counselor were both amazing with me. When I was in the middle of tapering, I would meet with my doctor once a week. It sucked because I was getting my medicine a week at a time, but that's what I needed to do to really focus and pay attention to, what I'm taking. And am I ready to taper? Am I ready to make this, next step and take 2 more milligrams out?
Mhm.
It's a lot. It's a huge change. Some people can handle it and some people just can't, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. You're still reducing, the harm. You're still being productive, and you're still, being kinder to your body.
Right. Absolutely. And I know a girl, when she was tapering, like something, little things that helped her, walking outside. She was really big. She wasn't like a big exercise fanatic or anything, but she did walk a lot. And she said that helped her being on a schedule, like having especially like a morning foundational schedule where she would get up and do her morning meditation, and she would go for a walk, and she would come back and eat breakfast, and she would, you know what I mean? Like call specific people. Like she was on a very regulated routine.
That's awesome to do. I did it, not a lot of people probably. I worked overnights. I did overnights because I have, little ones at home, so I had to be up with them while they weren't in school. And then, they would go to the babysitters and then I would work all night. So instead of me being like tossing and turning or pacing and dealing with the restless legs and dealing with this and dealing with that, I was working all night. That was my trigger time. I'm at work, I'm keeping busy, I'm keeping my hands busy, I'm keeping my mind busy. So by the time I did make it home, I was able to, fall asleep. Why you got to talk to people. You got to figure out what's right for you, because it's such a huge change in my life, just getting off of it too, like tapering. Like it was just, you can't do it. I don't recommend doing it alone. You people probably can do it alone, but why do it alone? There's so many resources out there, and just people, you can reach out to anyone at any point, anywhere, and go the other way. Sorry. Don't worry about me. Don't bother you?
No, don't
Okay.
Don't worry about me. Sorry.
Oh! Whoa, good thing I caught.
Amber said she got the Sublocade and never got sick.
Yeah, and like I said before, some people, they do. Sublocade is because Suboxone has the naloxone in it, so Suboxone brings you up and down. And that's why you have to dose multiple times a day or every day. The Sublocade doesn't have that. It's the same thing. The Subutex doesn't have the naloxone. It keeps you level all the time, and a lot of people do recommend going onto the Sublocade from the Suboxone to help you be successful. But that's the other thing that I always preach to everybody. Do not get off your maintenance medicine unless you know you're going to be successful, because that's the only goal, is to stay successful and to stay sober.
Right. Absolutely. Definitely.
Don't stop it just because you want to stop it, especially if your body can't do it. Like, it's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it.
And it's so hard because like when we come into recovery, we learn about rigorous honesty, right? But in some cases, it's not like the whole recovery community's business what prescription medications you're on, right?
It's not. It's nobody's business.
But also it's like, I feel like, it's so hard because I hate when I hear people who tell me like, yeah, I'm in recovery, but I'm on, you know what I mean? And I hate that but. Like, no, there's no but. You're in recovery.
That's it. End of story. Yeah, I hate that. Like, I couldn't imagine, like, and that's the other thing too. Like, you know how many people are probably sitting in an AA room right now that take Suboxone or take methadone, and they're scared to speak up about it?
Yeah.
And just to be honest with people around them. And I hate that. I hate that for people. I understand it's there. There's people that got in recovery 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and that was the only way. And there's some minds that you'll never change. But it's it breaks my little heart knowing that people have to do that.
Right.
You know,
And
just
feel
so
like they can't be proud and out loud about.
you have to be, you know, and it's, you know, like you're proud, you know, you go places, you speak, you know, and you have no problem admitting, you know, 12 step was the way and the only way at one point in your life, but now, you know, you understand all paths, you know, and there's probably people in that room that are okay with other people being on Suboxone and they can't speak up about it because they don't want their friends to think, you know, some different way about them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's hard for me, especially like meetings. Like most meetings out here are pretty liberal, you know what I'm saying? But there's like this one meeting I went to, and I really like the meeting and I really like the people, but it's a lot of old timers, you know what I mean? And like they're die hard, you know what I mean? And so like one day I was in, there was a you know, NA, and they're like, and I was like talking about something and talking about like, you know, sober, clean. And they're like clean. You can't, you know what I mean? Like they're so
I hate that word too. And you know what you
yeah.
should have said? Like, where am I dirty?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where am I dirty?
Yes.
I would have had to walk out, Jamie.
it was it was really hard. It gets really hard because like I remember they asked at the end, they're like asking if there was any like recovery related announcements, you know, and there happened to be like a big thing at the Capitol for recovery. And I was like, oh well, there's da da da. And they're like, no, that's not Narcotics Anonymous. Like, but it's the fucking state, bro. It's the whole state.
Everybody.
Excuse my language, but it just gets very frustrating. And then they're like, why don't you come back to the meeting? Like,
And like,
I'm trying to work it out.
that's what I'm working on. Like, you know, like brutal honesty. Sometimes I don't need to be brutally honest with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the hardest part. Learning how to be honest, like from going from hiding everything in my life and then being honest. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't say that. You know, maybe I shouldn't say that. Like, I don't need to. You know, it's just hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations,
Mm-hmm.
Brad. Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like, I tried getting sober so many times, and it never worked. I used Suboxone and it worked for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's because I educated myself. You know, I was taking it myself, prescribing it to myself. You know, and it's. I don't get it. I've never been on the other side of the fence. I have abused it. I've taken it right, and I've gotten off of it. So I get it, but I don't get how people have that much hate.
Yeah.
Make others feel bad about living a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
never.
What's up, Tay? Good to see you. Rudolph said Pasca just started doing MAT meetings down at Sober Solutions Place on 54. I want auspice. My doctor advises I stay on them.
You know, and sometimes there's a reason behind that. You know, do you have a lot going on in your life? Are you not stable with where you're living? You know, are you jumping from job to job? Like, there's a lot of reasons besides her pockets or your doctor's pockets.
Right.
That they ask questions. Ask questions. Ask them why, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Ask them why. What's a question, people? Not that challenge. There you go. Challenge your doctor.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you know.
I come up with a plan, you know what I mean? Like, well, okay, let's compromise. Like, what can we do? Where can we go to? You know what I mean? But and also maybe look at like what your motivation is for getting off of them. Because like I just you know, the worst thing is to, you know, to want to get off it and then have it be, you know what I mean, the wrong choice. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, I've been 2 years without, you know, since I've dosed, and I still think about going on it sometimes. You know, things get hard. I can't handle stuff. but I've learned to work through those things. But even to this long off of Suboxone, if there was ever a point where I felt myself slipping back up, or I felt like I was getting to that point, if going back on Suboxone is what would help me, then I would, without a doubt. I probably wouldn't be able to, I'd probably have to go on to a shot, something different, the Vivitrol, that's an option. But if I had to, I would definitely go back on it, before street. So it's being so self-aware that, you can hold yourself accountable in a quiet, dark room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I don't understand how people like just detox from stuff, just straight up, get off street drugs. Like, I don't think I could ever have the power to do that. I don't think and I commend people that can do that, because I don't think I could just be like, oh, I love you so much, but I'm going to stop taking you
Right.
on my own. I don't need any help, so I commend people that have done it that way. And I commend people that take Matt and hold themselves accountable and take it the right way. And, are 20 years, on Suboxone, 15 years taking it, like, they're still recovering, and it's amazing.
Yep.
People never going on it like you and advocating for those, to be able to get on it. I don't know what he put in there. That was gross. What time is it?
It is time for us to get off. Oh, I think she just clicked the button. Connect their mic cam. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. We enjoyed this topic and this conversation, and hopefully me and Brianna can. There she is.
I went to go look at the time and my internet opened up. Another.
I guess she had to go.
I do.
Yes, me too.
Yeah,
Same.
Too. I hope your day gets better than it was before.
Thank you.
It's nice to have them around, though, to remind us.
Yes.
Of them.
Yes. Yes. I'm super happy. So yeah, he just came back Thursday, and it looks like he's going to stay for a little while. So that's good. Yep. All right. Well, we will see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out with us. You guys have a great night, and we will check you guys out next time. Make sure you subscribe and share this live stream.